I didn't move to Italy to reinvent myself, but somehow that's exactly what happened. Hello, and welcome back to the Italian Essence, where we talk about Italian style, confidence, and creating a beautiful life after 50. And today I want to share the 4 lessons Italy taught me about style and self respect. About 25 years ago, we left the UK and moved to Italy. We came with horses, dogs, all our furniture, and we were going to build a business over here. And my husband was going to had a job in Rome. And looking back now, I can't believe how brave I was at that point. Jamie, our son, was only little. He was only 4 years old. I was the only one who spoke any sort of Italian, and even that wasn't brilliant, I have to admit. And it certainly wasn't Tarquinese, which is, of course, what they speak here a lot. But I did it. We did it. We bought a house. We went found a new school. We built the house, or well, not personally, but people. We organised builders and everything for that. We made new friends, and we managed to do it. And as I say, I look back and I think, how did we do it? And how did we leave our family at home in the UK? But that wasn't really what started to build my confidence. I mean, I guess it did have a lot to do with it, but I suddenly realised that I liked the person I was when I was here. I liked how I felt, I liked how I reacted to people. I just felt as if I'd really come home. And then I started to look around and to see everybody else around me. I think my eyes started to be opened. And, excuse me, there are all sorts of people arriving and a load of school children coming behind, so I apologise for the noise. But as I said, I felt something awakening. I was looking around and I was looking at the women around me and how wonderfully they were dressed. At the school gates, for instance, they'd be wearing things that I probably would have worn to a disco back in the day. But they were always beautifully dressed. They always had their hair done, their makeup done. Even first thing in the morning, they looked as if that they really cared. And it started me thinking. And those of you who've been following me for a while will know that I have always had a very deep interest in clothes and fashion. I have my own business making wedding dresses and ball gowns and designing them. I went to fashion school. I did all sorts of things like that, and even when I had a job in corporate, I was still very much aware of how I was dressing and how I was styling, and people used to ask me advice, and always had an interest in it. And coming back to Italy, that just reignited that. I suddenly wanted to know more, to do more, and I realised that I'd actually lost myself in the UK, not because of where I was particularly, but because I was a young mum. I had a very small child. I was in the depths of the country. We had horses and dogs, and I was sort of following the trend of the people that I was with. I was following that clan, as it were, and dressing for them so I would be accepted. And I see this so many times. People who are into sailing, for instance, and they wear the stuff that sailing people wear, or into golf and they'd wear that, or whatever your sport or your music or your society that you're in, you tend to dress in that way so you become accepted, and so you become recognised as soon as you walk in the room. Somebody will look at you and they're one of us. And although it was sort of partly me when I was there, it wasn't really truly who I was. And I felt myself growing and growing while I was here, getting more and more self-confident, more and more interested. I began talking to, obviously, the women around here, making friends and asking them about their style and what they did, and they'd go shopping with me, they'd show me things, and it reawakened me, I suppose, is what it was. I suddenly found me, and with that I found a new sort of self-confidence. And then I suddenly realised, it sort of came as a flash of lightning really, I suddenly realised that it wasn't about the clothes at all. I mean, yes, they all look amazing, and you can buy some lovely items in Italy, the Made in Italy brand, and they are unique, a lot of them. They're from boutiques and things, so you're not going to find them everywhere. And so they are inspirational, the clothes here, but it wasn't really about the clothes at all. It was about the fact that they were dressing for themselves. They were dressing for the people that they were or they are now. And they felt completely comfortable in their skin. They didn't care what people thought in a way, although they do care. I know that sounds like a misnomer, but they... And then I suddenly realised that it came in sort of a bolt of lightning, that it's not really about the clothes, although they are amazing here, obviously, and the boutiques have things in that you won't find in other shops, and it's incredibly inspirational stuff here. It's not mass market, especially, say, if you don't go into the big shops, you go into the smaller towns at their boutiques. But it wasn't about that. It was about the fact that they were completely secure in their own skins. They were dressing for themselves. They were dressing for who they were at that moment. And although they care, and Bella Figura is such a huge thing, you know, they have to give their best all the time. They have to show their best face to the world. But they almost don't care about the criticism. As long as they feel that they look good, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. And that's something I suddenly learned, that actually the reason I was feeling so confident, not self-confident, so confident here in Italy, and it was because I loved who I was, and I was dressing for that person. And suddenly everything aligned. My outward appearance was imaging what I was feeling inside, and I felt secure. I felt confident. I felt able to take on the world and to show the best version of myself. And from that, all sorts of things grew. I suddenly, decided I was going to go to Milan and reawaken my fashion and become a style consultant, or then a personal shopper from Milan. I suddenly had the confidence to do that. I had the confidence to compete with people who were much younger than me, and to forge a way for myself here, and to go and see the shops here, the boutiques here, the cruise ships, and to make a business for myself. In a strange country, with a young child and a husband who was working, whilst building a house, it was incredible. And when we went back to the UK, we had to go back for family reasons, but when we went back, I started to lose that a bit. I kept trying to get it back, and when we came back to Italy on holiday, I sort of reawakened things, but it wasn't really until I came back here permanently last year that I suddenly realised again, how much I had missed, and how easy it is to shrink and to conform and to just do what everybody else is expecting you to do, instead of being true to yourself, instead of following your own path and following your own dreams. It's so very easy just to think, well, I can't do that, what will my neighbours think, or what will my sister think, or whatever it is. It's very hard to keep strong. Again, this is Italy, so they're yelling in the background, so again, apologies, but it's part of what I love. So what I want to do now is to give you a few tips and tricks and pointers on how to remain true to yourself, and how to build an Italian style that is something that comes from the inside. So here we go. So the first thing I want to say is it's about self-respect. There is nothing wrong with wanting to look your best. There is nothing wrong with wanting to spend time and a little bit of money, or a lot of money, depending on how you're situated, on yourself. There's nothing wrong with wanting to show the best version of yourself to the world. And this is one of the biggest parts of Bella Figura here in Italy. It's showing up as the best version, showing people that you care about yourself. Because if you don't care about yourself, nobody else will. And if you don't have self-respect, then nobody is going to respect you. So if you want people to treat you properly, you have to treat yourself properly. And that's the first thing people will notice. When you walk into a room The first impression is the lasting impression, and you only get one chance at it. So look good, look as if you care about yourself. Take time with your hair, your makeup, if you wear it or not. Take time with your clothes, even if they're not expensive, just something that's well polished, that's ironed, that actually looks as if you respect yourself. And then it's amazing how people will see you then. If they don't believe that you care about yourself, they're not going to care about you. It's as simple as that. And we do the same to others as well. It's not something that's aimed at us. It's something that's just human nature. So if you see somebody who's walking towards you and they look beautifully put together, they've maybe just a coat and clean shoes or a really nice bag or a nice necklace, you immediately think better of them, rightly or wrongly. And if you see somebody who's scrapping around in dirty shoes and torn jeans, or maybe even in their athletic gear, you know, you've sort of, your first impression is that they don't care, so why should I? And if you're starting at that base point, you've got an awfully long way to go to get back up out of it. So really look after yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. Respect yourself and others will respect you. The next thing I want to say is that simplicity is the key. Buy the best you can afford in the best fabrics you can afford, rather than just buy one thing, rather than buying tons and tons of gaudy, ill-made, bad fabric clothes that you're just going to wear for a couple of times and they lose their shape or they start looking grey and drab. So buy the best you can afford and keep it simple. Simple is elegant. You don't have to have tons of designer clothes and tons of expensive jewellery. You just have to have things that are well cared for, that fit you well, and that you can dress up or dress down with your jewellery or your scarves or any other accessories. So keep it simple, because simple is elegant. And the next tip that follows on from that is don't buy more but buy better. I remember being absolutely astounded when I first came to Italy about how few things my friends had in their wardrobes. They would buy the best, again, like I said before, they could afford. And one of the biggest compliments you could give them was to say, oh, you've got that dress on again, or you've got that pair of shoes on again. They didn't need new clothes every time they went to a wedding or any special do. And they didn't need to have a new outfit for every day of the week. They just kept wearing the same thing over and over again because they knew that it was them, it fitted their personality. They bought the best quality they could buy, and they don't go into trends the same way as we maybe do in the UK or in America. They buy something that suits their body shape, suits their personality. And if they want to follow the trends, then they will do that with jewellery or shoes or any other accessories. So again, buy the best you can afford, in the best quality you can afford, and just buy fewer. Choose well, choose something that's going to go with other things in your wardrobe, something that you can match with at least 10 other items so you can make outfits out of them, not something that's just going to be a one-off. The other thing to remember is that you can evolve, your style can evolve. You don't have to carry on wearing the same thing that you were wearing in your 30s or your 40s. You've changed, your lifestyle's probably changed. So in that case, you know, why shouldn't your style change? And it doesn't have to be a major overhaul, it just has to be something that actually fits who you are now. So if you used to be in corporate and you used to go into work in stilettos and smart suits, but now you spend most of your time at home or going out with friends or whatever, you're going to look in your wardrobe and think you've got nothing to wear because there's nothing in there for who you are now. So you need to tweak it and to make it fit your lifestyle. And the last thing I want you to know is that it is never too late. It's never too late to start respecting yourself. It's never too late to start finding your style. It's never too late to start dressing for the person you are and finding that self-confidence and that sense of peace that you get when who you are inside aligns with what you're showing the world outside. One of the saddest things that I hear from my clients is, oh, I'm too old, oh, there's no point in changing now, or I'm too fat, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. And I think that's probably slightly an excuse, I don't know. I mean, I know I've heard myself say it before, so you know, it's something that's very common, but I think we need to give ourselves permission to be ourselves. We need to give ourselves permission to like ourselves, to love who we are and to love what we're doing. And as I say, it is never, ever too late. If you've been feeling disconnected from yourself or your style lately, I hope this reminded you that it's never too late to evolve. I'd love to know in the comments whether Italy, or perhaps just simply getting older, has changed the way you see yourself too. And if you'd like help creating your own elegant, authentic style with an Italian-inspired approach, I'll leave the details of the Italian method below. And of course, if you enjoy these conversations about Italian style, confidence and la dolce vita after 50, I'd love you to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.